Hello everyone. While most of us were busy watching politicians deliver speeches on July 26th, that is Kargil Vijay Diwas, something historic, almost silent, was unfolding in the mountains of Drass. No chest thumping, no breaking news banners, just one roar from Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi, which was the approval of a new brigade built for the future. At first glance, it sounds like routine military jargon, but behind those words lies a blueprint that could redefine how India fights its future wars. A brigade that brings together infantry, tanks, drones, artillery, and special forces under one single command. A force that does not just defend, it strikes, it shocks, and it disappears before the enemy knows what hit them. It's called the Rudra Brigade. And the truth is, this quiet military revolution is far bigger than we think. Today on Conflict in Context, we decode why Rudra is not just a formation, it's the future of Indian warfare. On July 26th, during the solemn commemoration of Kargil Vijay Diwas, the Indian Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi made a formal address at Drass. Surrounded by soldiers, veterans and national flags fluttering in the Himalayan wind, he did not announce a weapons deal or a budget hike, but something far more fundamental. He introduced Rudra, India's newly approved all-arms brigade. Now here's where it gets strange. This was not a backroom trial or a think tank proposal. This was a public declaration of a groundbreaking shift in Indian military structure. And yet, most newspapers buried it. Most anchors skipped it, and most citizens never even heard of it. Why? Because military transformations are not always announced with fireworks. Sometimes they arrive wrapped in routine speeches, disguised as structural updates. But if you know how militaries evolve, you will see that this move, quite as it was, is anything but minor. It's the first real step towards what India's military theorists have debated for years. Integrated battle groups. They are faster, smarter, and more united. And with this announcement, the Indian Army just put that idea into motion. Its name is Rudra. So what exactly is this Rudra Brigade, and why is it being called a game changer? Let's start with the basics. In traditional military structure, India's brigades were usually organized by one type of force. So you'd have an infantry brigade, or an artillery brigade, or an armored brigade. Each would rely on other units for support when deployed, which sounds fine until you need to respond fast. That's where the concept of integrated battle groups or IBGs comes in. Left side shows traditional structure, multiple arms moving separately. Right side shows an IBG with all arms moving as one. IBGs are self-contained strike forces. They are like a cricket team where every player brings a different skill, but they all play together from ball one. No delays, no waiting for reinforcements. They combine infantry for ground operations, tanks and mechanized units for speed, artillery for firepower, drones for surveillance, special forces for surgical missions, and engineers, signals and logistics all under one command. Now back to Rudra. This is India's first operational step toward that IBG model executed within the army. A fully integrated brigade that can move quickly, hit hard, and adapt to any terrain. Approved by General Dwivedi himself, Rudra is not a trial balloon. It's a functioning formation already being carved out from existing units along the China and Pakistan borders. And here's the clever part. Unlike IBGs, which were still being debated between the Army, Navy, and Air Force, Rudra sidesteps the red tape by starting where consensus was possible within the army itself. It's integrated, it's mobile, and it's lethal. And it's not waiting for the next war to begin training. But what makes Rudra even more impressive is how each brigade is customized for where it fights. Let's break that down. Here's where Rudra breaks the mold. Unlike traditional brigades that follow a one-size-fits-all structure, every Rudra brigade is tailored to the terrain it's assigned to. Why does that matter? because the battlefield in Punjab's plains is not the same as the mountains of Ladakh, and the kind of strike you need along the LOC is very different from the one you'd launch in the desert. Let's look at 3 real-world examples. In the plains like Punjab or Rajasthan, Rudra will include mechanized infantry for fast mobility, armored regiments with tanks, self-propelled artillery for rapid fire support. It's built for blitz-style, high-speed offenses, ideal for flat, open terrain. In mountains like Ladakh or Arunachal, the focus shifts. Rudra here includes foot infantry battalions trained in high-altitude warfare, mountain artillery units, lightweight drones for surveillance across cliffs and valleys. Mobility is slower, but precision and endurance takes over. Along the LOC or line of control, here it gets surgical. Special forces detachments, loitering drones, sniper units, and small rapid response teams. These Rudras are built to shock the enemy and vanish before a counterattack. So Rudra is not just powerful, it's adaptive, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Whether it's a full-fledged confrontation or a cross-border raid, Rudra is already configured to respond like it's been there for years. Next up, let's talk about what else is changing in India's war machine. A brand new type of commando unit called Bhairav. Just as Rudra was grabbing quite headlines, another formation slipped in under the radar. But it could become India's first line of shock and awe. Meet the Bhairav Light Commando Battalions. These are not your traditional special forces. They are dropping behind enemy lines in a different country. They are not training for hostage rescues or global interventions. Bhairav units are built for one thing: tactical dominance on India's volatile borders. Quick in, quick out, leave damage behind. So how are they different? Traditional special forces are elite but slow to mobilize, focused on deep ops or covert insertions. Bhairav, on the other hand, are lean and lethal, always border ready, trained for rapid response raids, post-ambush counter-strikes, and tactical disruptions. Think of them as India's border stormtroopers. And here's the twist: they are not standalone. They are often embedded with Rudra Brigades, acting like spearhead. So when Rudra moves, Bhairav kicks the door in. So together they form a 2-layer offensive system. Rudra for coordinated battlefields and Bhairav for sudden chaos. And in the modern battlefield, where war can start with a drone and end in 90 minutes, this level of precision is not a luxury, it's a necessity. So ladies and gentlemen, that we have seen what these formations are, let's step back and now ask the bigger question. Why now? Why is India restructuring at this very moment? The answer lies across 2 borders. On the western front is Pakistan. Cross-border terrorism has not stopped. In fact, it has evolved. More drones, more precision strikes, more audacity. India needs a system that can respond faster than diplomacy and harder than condemnation. That's where Rudra and Bhairav come in. They let India strike surgically without mobilizing the entire divisions. And on the eastern front is China. The standoff in Ladakh is not a memory. It's an ongoing chessboard. China is building roads, helipads, and fortifications just miles from Indian positions. This is not peacetime, it's a permanent grey zone conflict. And India's old military playbook, heavy, slow, and reactive, won't cut it here. This is why the Indian Army dusted off a doctrine that had been gathering dust in military white papers: the Cold Start Doctrine. So what is the Cold Start Doctrine? Cold Start is India's strategy for limited, high-speed, coordinated strikes in response to a provocation without triggering full-scale war. But for Cold Start to work, you need battle-ready groups that can be deployed in 48 hours. You need integrated battle groups. And now, Rudra is bringing that doctrine to life, not on PowerPoint, on the ground. With Bhairav units ready to strike, Rudra ready to support, India's army is not just reacting anymore, it's rehearsing, and maybe even warning. But how exactly does this connect to real events like Operation Sindoor? And was that the first time Rudra was tested in live conditions? Let's find out. Now let's talk about a military operation that might just be the first real glimpse of Rudra in action. It happened in May 2025. The Indian Army launched a series of precise, coordinated strikes on terror camps across the border. The operation was called Operation Sindoor. At first glance, it looked like a routine retaliation. After all, just days before, India had lost 26 civilians in a brutal terror attack. But what followed was not routine. General Dwivedi's tone was very clear. He called it a decisive victory. He said India had sent a strong message, and most importantly, he emphasized measured and precise retaliation. Now here's where it gets interesting. The timing. Operation Sindoor took place in early May. The Rudra Brigade was formally announced in late July, and General Dwivedi was personally involved in both. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe Sindoor was Rudra's first live rehearsal. A surgical strike with integrated artillery fire, drone surveillance, commando teams from Bhairav, and a unified command that moved within hours. And remember, Dwivedi did not just announce Rudra. He said, I approved it yesterday. Not I proposed it. Not I will raise it. Approved. Past tense. That suggests preparations had already begun. So what if Operation Sindoor was not just retaliation, but a field test? The first proof that Rudra is not theory, it's active. In that case, the game has already changed. But the modernization did not stop with Rudra. On Kargil Vijay Diwas, the army unveiled the e-Shraddhanjali app, QR code war stories, and the Indus viewpoint at 10,000 feet, connecting citizens directly to the soldiers and sacrifices that defend them. On the battlefield, drone platoons, loitering munitions, Indian-made missile defenses. This is not just new hardware, it's a new culture, linking tech, troops and tribute. Because Rudra is not just a brigade, it's a message. To enemies, we are ready and already rehearsed. To citizens, you are part of this mission. So next time a border clash breaks, ask yourself, was it routine or was it the silent signature of India's new war doctrine? The doctrine of Rudra. So if this story moved you, share it. These are the stories we do not hear enough of, but they shape our world. Because conflict is inevitable, but context decides who wins. Thank you and bye.